Most people are playing a game they don't even realize they're in. A game of comparison. A game of chasing numbers, likes, followers, and validation. A game where success is measured by trophies, titles, and temporary applause. But what if that's the wrong game altogether? What if life isn't about winning? What if the real power lies not in being first, but in lasting? In the infinite game, Simon Sinek opens our eyes to a new way of thinking. A mindset built not on fear, but on vision, not on beating others, but on becoming better. This isn't just a book, it's a wake-up call. A call to stop living by someone else's scoreboard and start playing a game with no end, only purpose. If you've ever felt like there must be more, if you're tired of chasing and ready to build something that lasts, then listen closely. Because the infinite game isn't for everyone, but it is for those who dare to lead from within. We live in a world obsessed with winning. From school to sports, business to politics, we are taught to play to win. Success is defined by clear victories, top rankings, and defeating the competition. But what if life isn't a game we can win? What if the rules aren't fixed, the players constantly change, and the goal isn't to beat someone else, but to keep playing, evolving, and growing? This is the idea behind Simon Sinek's The Infinite Game. It's a concept that flips traditional thinking on its head. While many of us operate with a finite mindset, focused on short-term results, measurable goals, and winning at all costs, Sinek invites us to step back and see the bigger picture. He challenges us to embrace the mindset of infinite players. In an infinite game, the purpose is not to win. The purpose is to continue the game with integrity, vision, and resilience. Think about this. Business, life, relationships, even personal growth. None of these have an endpoint. There's no finish line where we're declared ultimate winners. Sure, there are milestones, achievements, and temporary victories, but the game keeps going. New challenges arise, new players enter, the environment changes. And the only ones who thrive are those who understand the nature of the infinite game. Let's start with the core idea, the difference between a finite and an infinite game. A finite game has fixed rules, known players, and a clear end point. Think of football. There are two teams, a set of rules, and a scoreboard. Everyone knows the goal: score more points than the other team before time runs out. The winner is declared, the game ends. Now contrast that with an infinite game. There are known and unknown players. The rules can change. There's no definitive endpoint. The objective is not to win, but to keep playing and to keep the game alive. Business is an infinite game. So is leadership. So is life. And yet, most people play these infinite games with a finite mindset, obsessed with quarterly results, winning arguments, gaining followers, or accumulating more than others. This is a dangerous game to play. When we treat infinite games as if they are finite, we get disillusioned, we feel lost, we compare ourselves to others, we chase metrics that don't matter in the long run. We burn out, and worst of all, we forget why we started playing in the first place. Simon Sinek points out that the companies and leaders who play the infinite game are the ones who last. They are resilient in the face of change. They inspire loyalty. They innovate not just to compete, but to contribute. They are guided not just by profits, but by purpose. And this isn't just idealism, it's strategy. Infinite players aren't soft, they're strategic. They're playing the long game, and they win by staying in the game. But what does it mean to play the infinite game in practical terms? It begins with adopting an infinite mindset, a way of thinking that prioritizes long-term sustainability, meaning, and service over short-term wins and ego-driven gains. And this mindset requires 5 essential practices: just cause, trusting teams, worthy rivals, existential flexibility, and the courage to lead. Let's dive into each of these, starting with the idea of a just cause. A just cause is a specific vision of the future so appealing and inspiring that people are willing to sacrifice for it. It's not a vague mission statement. It's not a generic desire to be the best. A just cause is bold, forward-looking, and deeply meaningful. It gives people something to believe in, a reason to commit beyond the paycheck. Why does this matter? Because people don't commit to products, companies, or leaders. They commit to causes. They want to be part of something bigger than themselves, something that gives their work and life a deeper sense of purpose. A just cause answers the question, what are we working toward that is bigger than ourselves? It creates direction, consistency, and endurance. Apple, for example, has always stood for empowering individuals through technology. Their just cause was to challenge the status quo and think differently. This cause inspired a loyal following, not just because of the products, but because of the purpose behind them. In your own life, what is your just cause? What are you playing for that's bigger than winning today or being better than someone else tomorrow? Your just cause can't be about beating the competition. It can't be rooted in comparison or ego. It has to be positive, inclusive, and service-oriented. And it has to be resilient enough to guide you through storms, setbacks, and seasons of change. When you operate from a just cause, you make decisions differently. You play with the long term in mind. You choose values over shortcuts. You resist the temptation of immediate gratification for the sake of lasting impact. You understand that true greatness isn't built overnight, but over decades of alignment, sacrifice, and commitment. But having a just cause isn't enough. You also need people who believe in it and are willing to protect and advance it with you. This brings us to the second principle of the infinite game, trusting teams. Trusting teams are teams where people feel safe to be themselves, safe to speak up, admit mistakes, and ask for help without fear of punishment. This kind of safety is rare and incredibly powerful. In too many organizations, people wear masks. They hide weaknesses, pretend to know everything, and suffer in silence. The result? Stress, politics, dysfunction, and ultimately failure. But in infinite organizations, the priority is not just performance, but trust. Leaders focus on creating environments where people feel valued and safe, where truth is welcomed, where vulnerability is not punished but honored, where the team supports the individual and the individual supports the team. And here's the paradox. Teams that prioritize trust actually perform better. Why? Because they communicate more openly. They solve problems faster. They take healthy risks. They learn from failure. They grow together. If you're a leader, your job is not to command and control. It's to listen, protect, and empower. It's to build trust one conversation at a time. And as you build trust inside, you'll also face challenges outside. This leads us to the next principle, worthy rivals. Worthy rivals are not enemies to defeat. They are competitors who reveal your own weaknesses, who push you to improve, and who inspire you to reach higher. In the finite mindset, rivals are threats. We resent them. We obsess over them. We try to beat them. But in the infinite mindset, rivals are gifts. They help us grow. Simon Sinek shares a personal story about his own worthy rival. At first, he saw this person as a competitor to outshine, but over time he realized that his rival had strengths he lacked, and that those strengths highlighted areas he needed to grow. The rival made him better, not by losing to him, but by learning from him. Ask yourself, who is your worthy rival? Who challenges you to think deeper, act smarter, or live more fully? Instead of resenting them, thank them, study them, grow because of them. And this growth brings us to a critical moment in every infinite journey, the moment of flexibility. Existential flexibility is the willingness to make a profound strategic shift, not for the sake of trends or profits, but to better serve your just cause. This is not about changing direction every time you face resistance. It's about recognizing when the path you're on is no longer aligned with your purpose, and having the courage to pivot. Consider the story of Apple once again. When Steve Jobs introduced the idea of the iPod, it was a bold move. Apple was a computer company. The idea of entering the music business could have seemed reckless, but Jobs saw something bigger, a way to advance the cause of empowering individuals through personal technology. So, he made the shift. Existential flexibility often comes at a cost. It can disrupt business models. It can confuse shareholders. It can alienate short-term thinkers. But infinite leaders aren't driven by short-term approval. They're driven by long-term vision. And this leads to the final, and perhaps most essential principle of the infinite game, the courage to lead. Leading with an infinite mindset requires courage. Courage to stand for your cause. Courage to protect your team. Courage to admit mistakes. Courage to play the long game when others demand quick wins. It's not easy, it's not popular, but it's worth it. When you lead with courage, you inspire others to do the same. You create a ripple effect that transforms teams, organizations, and lives. In an infinite game, success is not measured in traditional ways. It's not about winning deals, getting promotions, or achieving quarterly goals. Those things are milestones, not endpoints. Real success in the infinite mindset is about staying in the game, remaining true to your cause, and continually growing. One of the greatest traps in life is defining ourselves by metrics that don't really matter. We compare salaries, followers, titles, or material possessions, and yet deep down we feel unsatisfied. That's because these things are finite markers. They may look impressive, but they don't last, and they don't define who we are. Infinite players define success differently. They ask, am I living in alignment with my values? Am I helping others grow? Am I contributing to a cause that matters? Am I becoming the person I want to be, not just professionally, but personally and ethically? This is a radical shift. It means walking away from the scoreboard and walking towards something deeper. It means focusing less on being better than others and more on being better than you were yesterday. One of the most powerful ways to embody this mindset is through reflection. Take time each day to reflect on how you lived, not just what you achieved. Were you kind? Did you act with integrity? Did you listen? Did you help someone else move forward? These are infinite questions. They never get old. They never expire. They continue to challenge and shape us every day. People who play the infinite game are long-term thinkers. They understand that lasting success requires patience, consistency, and an unwavering commitment to core values. While others chase quick wins, infinite players plant seeds. They water them daily. They nurture relationships, build trust, and invest in growth that compounds over time. It's easy to be seduced by urgency. The world is loud, notifications buzz, deadlines scream, leaders are pressured to produce instant results. But infinite players resist the noise. They stay grounded in purpose. They understand that what's urgent is not always what's important. In your own life, where can you shift from urgent to important? Where are you sacrificing long-term vision for short-term comfort? Are you chasing applause or building a legacy? Long-term players build things that last. Relationships, character, skills, and contributions. They don't just hustle, they harvest. And harvesting takes time. It's not about being slow, it's about being deliberate. It's about aligning your actions with your values, about staying focused on the deeper game even when the world tells you to speed up. The long game is never easy. There will be moments when you doubt yourself, when you feel behind, when others seem to be getting ahead faster. But remember, many who rise quickly fall just as fast. Infinite players endure. They rise again and again because their foundation is deeper than the surface. One of the clearest indicators of an infinite organization is its culture. Culture is not a slide in a presentation or a slogan on a wall. It's how people behave when no one's watching. It's the values they live by, the conversations they have, and the way they treat one another. In the finite mindset, culture is often sacrificed for performance. Toxic behavior is tolerated if someone hits their targets. But in the infinite mindset, culture is the performance. Because when people feel safe, supported, and inspired, they perform better. They innovate. They stay, they serve. Great leaders don't just hire for skill, they hire for values. They coach not just for performance, but for growth. They don't tolerate high performers who poison the team. They protect the culture because they know that culture is the soil in which everything grows. If the soil is healthy, the roots are strong. If the culture is toxic, no amount of skill or strategy can compensate. What's the culture of your life? What values govern your relationships, your work, your decisions? Do you prioritize kindness, honesty, humility, or just achievement? Remember, the culture you cultivate is the life you live. Infinite players protect and grow their culture because they know that culture outlives performance. It outlasts numbers. It's the invisible force that shapes everything visible. Pride is the enemy of the infinite game. It makes us defensive, inflexible, and blind to growth. It tells us we've arrived, that we know best, that we don't need help. Pride is obsessed with appearance. Purpose is grounded in substance. Infinite leaders lead with purpose. They don't pretend to have all the answers. They ask questions. They seek feedback. They admit mistakes. They are more interested in learning than in looking good. This kind of leadership creates followership, not because of authority, but because of authenticity. Think about the leaders who've impacted you the most. Were they flawless? Probably not, but they were real. They cared. They stood for something. They made you feel seen, heard, and valued. That's infinite leadership. And anyone can practice it, not just CEOs or politicians. You can be an infinite leader in your family, your school, your community, or your team. All it takes is a willingness to lead with purpose instead of pride. So ask yourself, what are you leading for? Is it status, approval, control, Or is it contribution, growth, and service? Purpose-driven leadership isn't about being perfect. It's about being committed to something bigger than yourself. Every infinite player will face setbacks. You will be misunderstood. You will fail. You will lose. But infinite players know setbacks are not the end. They are part of the game. Resilience is the muscle that keeps you going. It's the strength to stand up when you fall, to realign when you drift, to keep playing when others quit. In a finite mindset, failure is final. In the infinite mindset, failure is feedback. It teaches. It refines. It deepens character. You're not supposed to get everything right the first time. Growth is not linear. Progress is messy. But those who endure are those who keep going. They hold on to their just cause. They trust their team. They learn from rivals. They stay flexible. And they lead with courage. Resilience isn't just about grit. It's about grace. Grace for yourself. Grace for others. Understanding that every mistake is part of the journey. That being human means being imperfect, but striving nonetheless. So the next time you fail, don't retreat. Reflect. Don't beat yourself up. Lift yourself up. Remember, infinite players don't stop. They adjust. They evolve. They return stronger. The infinite game isn't just for companies or leaders. It's for everyone. It's for how you live, love, work, and grow. It's for how you treat people, how you treat yourself, how you make decisions every day. Living the infinite life means asking better questions, not how do I win today, but how do I grow today, not how do I get ahead, but how do I contribute, not what will they think of me, but what legacy am I leaving? It means waking up with purpose and going to bed with peace, knowing that you moved one step closer to your cause, that you added light to someone's day, that you played with integrity. It means being patient in a world that rushes, being kind in a world that competes, being steady in a world that shakes. The infinite game is not easy, it's not glamorous, it's not instantly rewarding, but it is deeply fulfilling. Because at the end of the day, what matters most is not how much you won, but how well you lived, how well you loved, how much you grew, and how many others you helped keep playing. In the finite world, vulnerability is often seen as weakness. We're told to hide our doubts, mask our fears, and always appear strong. But infinite players know the truth. Vulnerability is not weakness, it's courage in its rawest form. To admit you don't know. To say that was wrong. To ask for help. These are acts of profound strength, because they tear down the walls we hide behind and build bridges of connection, trust, and authenticity. Leadership in the infinite game requires vulnerability, because leading people isn't just about strategy or direction, it's about being real. Real leaders don't pretend to be perfect, they show up honestly. They create environments where people feel safe to speak up, to fail, and to grow. Vulnerability also opens the door to deeper purpose. When we stop performing and start connecting, we remember why we started in the first place. We remember the cause that calls us forward. We remember that we're not machines, we're humans. And humans are wired for meaning, not metrics. So ask yourself, where in your life are you hiding behind strength? Where can you choose vulnerability instead? Speak your truth, own your growth, or admit your struggle. Infinite players don't fake perfection, they lead with authenticity. And that authenticity becomes the foundation of something far greater than winning. It becomes the foundation of trust. In the finite mindset, competition is about beating others. We treat rivals as threats. We celebrate when they fail. We protect our ideas, our plans, our strategies, because we're afraid someone might steal our edge. But the infinite player sees competition differently. In Simon Sinek's words, they look at others as worthy rivals, not enemies. A worthy rival is someone whose strengths reveal your weaknesses, not to shame you, but to help you grow. This is a radical idea. Instead of tearing others down, we thank them. Instead of copying them, we learn from them. Instead of resenting their success, we study what they're doing well and use it to push ourselves forward. That's the power of a worthy rival. They keep you honest. They keep you improving. They help you stretch beyond your comfort zone. Think about someone you admire, or even someone you secretly envy. What can you learn from them? What are they doing that you're not? Where are they consistent where you're inconsistent? The goal isn't to become them. The goal is to become more of who you can be by letting their example challenge you, not crush you. This mindset transforms how we view competition. It removes ego and replaces it with humility. It stops comparison and starts transformation. Infinite players are not intimidated by excellence. They are inspired by it, because they know, deep down, that the only person they're really competing against is who they were yesterday. The strength of any infinite player lies in the team they build. No one plays the infinite game alone. You may be talented, you may be ambitious, you may even be a genius. But if you cannot build trust with others, your success will always be limited. In the finite mindset, people are seen as tools, used to hit goals, reach numbers, or win rewards. But in the infinite mindset, people are seen as partners, invested in, nurtured, and empowered. The best teams don't just work well, they trust deeply. They speak openly, they disagree respectfully, they hold each other accountable, they celebrate each other's wins and support each other through losses. This kind of trust doesn't happen overnight. It's not built in the big moments, it's built in the small ones, in how you respond to a mistake, in whether you follow through on a promise, in whether you care about someone not just for what they produce, but for who they are. Ask yourself, would the people around you describe you as safe, as honest, as consistent? Trust isn't built through charisma, it's built through character. And in the infinite game, your character is your currency. So invest in people. Care about their growth. Listen deeply, lead with empathy. Because when you build a team that trusts, you don't just go farther, you go forever. Finite players focus on being served by customers, by teams, by circumstances. Infinite players flip the equation. They exist to serve. This doesn't mean they're passive or self-sacrificing. It means they're driven by a sense of responsibility. They understand that their role, whether as a leader, a friend, or a creator, is to contribute something meaningful to others. Infinite players wake up with the question, who am I here to serve today? It might be your family. It might be your clients. It might be your audience, your coworkers, your students, your team. Service doesn't always look heroic. Sometimes it's simply listening, showing up, encouraging, holding space, offering value without expecting applause. This mindset transforms your motivation. Instead of asking, what's in it for me, you begin asking, what's needed of me? That shift from self to service is what makes your work matter. Even in business, the most lasting companies are not those that focus solely on profits. They're the ones that obsess over service, delighting customers, empowering employees, and solving real problems. You don't have to wear a cape to serve. You just have to care. You just have to be willing to put others at the center, not just yourself. In a world chasing attention, infinite players give attention. In a world chasing influence, they give impact. And in doing so, they don't just build businesses, they build trust, loyalty, and legacy. The infinite game doesn't end. There's no finish line, there's no trophy. There's just the next step, and then the next, and then the next. Some days you'll feel like you're on fire, clear, focused, and making progress. Other days you'll feel lost, tired, or behind. That's okay. That's part of the game. What matters is that you stay in it, stay learning, stay growing, stay adjusting, stay connected to your cause, your people, and your vision. The danger of the finite mindset is that it tricks you into thinking there's an arrival point, that once you hit a goal or win an award, you're done. But infinite players know arrival is an illusion. There's always more to explore, more to give, more to become. So if today you feel like quitting, pause, breathe, reflect, then get back in the game. You don't have to sprint. You don't have to be perfect. You just have to keep going. And when you forget why you started, return to your just cause. When you lose momentum, lean on your team. When you doubt yourself, remember, you were never playing to win. You were playing to matter, to contribute, to grow. The infinite player doesn't ask, when will I arrive? They ask, how can I keep playing better? That's the beauty of the infinite game. It's not about reaching the end. It's about playing with intention, with integrity, with impact. When you commit to playing the infinite game, you must also commit to thinking long-term. In a world obsessed with immediacy, instant gratification, viral moments, overnight success, the infinite player holds a different posture. They zoom out. They ask not what will get them results today, but what will build something sustainable, meaningful, and enduring over decades. Thinking long-term doesn't mean ignoring the short-term. It means refusing to sacrifice the future for short-term gains. It means being willing to take a slower path if it leads to deeper roots. It means being patient enough to build something real, rather than rushing to build something flashy. Most people don't play the long game because it's hard. It requires discipline, vision, and delayed rewards. But the rewards are greater. When you think long-term, you make decisions not based on pressure, but on purpose. You build not for today's applause, but for tomorrow's legacy. This mindset isn't just for CEOs or world leaders, it's for anyone. A parent thinking about their child's future, a creator building a meaningful body of work, a friend investing in deep relationships, a student choosing learning over shortcuts. Every small, patient act adds up. Every step with purpose strengthens your path. The infinite game belongs to those who are willing to plant seeds they may never see grow, but who plant them anyway. Legacy is not what you leave behind, it's what you leave within. It's not just the company you built, the book you wrote, or the money you earned. It's the minds you shaped, the courage you sparked, the values you embodied. In the infinite game, you play not just for yourself, but for others, for the generation coming after you. And this creates a deep sense of responsibility. When you realize you're part of something bigger, you stop asking, "What do I get?" and start asking, "What will I give?" Will you pass on wisdom or just noise? Will you model courage or convenience? Will you choose legacy over ego? Your legacy is being written every day, in the way you treat people, in the standards you uphold, in the truth you speak, and in the choices you make. You don't have to be perfect, but you do have to be intentional. Because your actions ripple outward. They inspire or discourage. They liberate or limit. And over time, those ripples become waves. Choose to be the kind of player who leaves the game better than you found it. The kind who lifts others. The kind who builds bridges. The kind who isn't remembered for what they had, but for how they lived. In a finite mindset, life is a race. You run, you chase, you compare, you compete, you win or you lose. But in the infinite mindset, life is a journey. And in that journey, the meaning doesn't come from reaching a final destination. It comes from how you move through it. Every setback becomes part of your shaping. Every delay becomes part of your training. Every relationship, every risk, every failure, all of it becomes part of your becoming. When you embrace the infinite game, you stop asking, "How far am I?" and start asking, "Who am I becoming?" You start to see the beauty in the process. You learn to find meaning not just in the outcome, but in the effort. Not just in the goal, but in the growth. You may not always feel like you're progressing, but the work is working. The internal shifts are real. The transformation is happening. Play the long game. Celebrate the small wins. Be patient with yourself. Meaning comes not from rushing ahead, but from fully living the moment you're in, aware, engaged, grateful, and grounded in something bigger than yourself. You don't need a title to think infinitely. You don't need a team. You don't need millions of dollars or a massive platform. You just need to decide, I want to live for something bigger than winning. The infinite mindset starts with your daily choices. When you choose progress over perfection, you're thinking infinitely. When you choose character over clout, you're thinking infinitely. When you choose relationships over results, you're thinking infinitely. When you choose curiosity over certainty, you're thinking infinitely. When you choose the next right step over needing all the answers, you're thinking infinitely. It's not about changing the world overnight. It's about being a different kind of presence in the world, a steady one, a hopeful one, a purposeful one. Every day you get the chance to play the infinite game a little more, to become the kind of person who lasts, who grows, who lifts others, who leaves a mark not just in the moment but for the future. Here's the final truth. The infinite game is not out there, it's in you. It's in your decisions, your beliefs, your relationships. It's in how you show up when no one's watching. It's in the way you respond to defeat, the way you treat people with power, the way you hold on to hope. You are the game changer. Not because you have all the answers, but because you're willing to ask better questions. Not because you've arrived, but because you're committed to evolving. Simon Sinek's message in the infinite game is not a command. It's an invitation to play a deeper, braver, more meaningful game. A game where we don't settle for success as defined by others, but define success by how well we live, serve, and grow. The infinite game is not easy. It will test you, it will stretch you, but it will also free you from the trap of comparison, from the pressure of performance, and from the fear of irrelevance. Because once you realize that you are here not to win, but to contribute, everything changes. So go forward, with vision, with values, with purpose. Keep playing, keep growing, keep giving. This is your game. This is the infinite game, and you were born to play it